Every time I turn around these days, there's a new study to tell me how unhappy I and my gender happen to be. The latest, over 33% of women are earning more than their husbands. So now we're bringing home the bacon, frying it up, but are too afraid to eat it, unless we're on Atkins. So what's a girl to do? Here to make sense of all this is Marcus Buckingham, author of Find Your Strongest Life, What the Happiest and Most Successful Women Do Differently. The studies are showing that women are less happy than we all were 40 years ago.
Yes.
Yes. Do women just complain more? Is that it? Or what's the real story there?
Well, if they complain more than men genetically, then they would have been complaining more 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So I don't think it is that. I think it's probably a couple of things. First, women are harder on themselves than men. So
Yes.
if you ask men which you think will help you be more successful, building on your strengths or fixing your weaknesses, men are 50-50. But if you ask women that question, 73% of women say, fix my weaknesses.
So the men accept their flaws.
They accept their flaws, and then they move on, they put them aside more, and then they focus on the particular strengths they bring. Women seem to be harder on themselves and then feel guilt about not necessarily being all that they should be. So if you kind of compound that, that's a life in which you spend a lot of time thinking about who you're not.
I see. That's an interesting point. But, you know, women have more pressure on them, though, to look better. They spend more money and they make less money. You know, we are constantly under pressure to have everything. The kids, the job, a lot of friends, a great social life. We have to know how to make a paella. It's really annoying.
It is. No, there are a lot of different domains in which women are supposed to excel. So in that respect, feminism worked perfectly because it gave women more and more choices and more domains in which you're supposed to excel. But in a sense, I mean, the challenge there, if you've got a ton of choices, you have to make one, and then you have to make sure you know the right one. So for you, that puts an awful lot of responsibility on you to figure out, well, what are the right choices for me to make? What are the right definitions that I have for myself in terms of success? So some choice is good. A ton of choice can be incredibly stressful.
I know, but what if you focus on the choice after you have 3 children? You really don't have the kind of time or facility to really pursue your dream.
Well, I think you have to start at the level, when we looked at the women in this book who had bucked the trend, the women that were happy and that were successful.
Yes.
They had women, I mean, they had kids, they didn't have kids, some were very successful, some had jobs, some didn't, but they were all on a happiness or upward trend. And our focus was to say what, despite all the differences in life choices they made, what did they have in common? What did they share? And whether they had 3 kids or not, they started with moments. They realized that it was the moments in life that strengthened them. That if you could figure out how to plug into life, it would in fact find ways to give you the energy that you needed. So you don't necessarily need to blow up your life and start again. If you've got 3 kids or if you're a CEO, you start moment by moment going, how can I imbalance my life this week toward those moments that invigorate me?
So you basically would say sweat the small stuff.
Absolutely.
That's what you mean by that phrase.
Absolutely.
You should sweat the small. I was wondering what you were talking about.
You look at the details of the moment that matter most. You don't have grand dreams and visions. You go, what is it? Do I get invigorated by feeling the emotions of other people? Do I love it? Do I cry with people and laugh with people? Do I love that? Or do I love seeing small patterns in things and then building them into bigger patterns? What are the specific moments of my life that invigorate me?
Okay. I was interested in these myths that you say that we have. One of them is at work, women are relegated to lower level roles and that they make less money. That is not a myth. That's a fact.
Well, actually, women are 37% of women are in management positions, 31% of men. So now, at the senior most levels, you've still got about 17% of women versus the remainder being men. So there is still some glass ceiling that remains to be cracked.
Yeah.
And in terms of money, yes, it's about actually 80%. Women earn 80% on the dollar, but most of the difference...
I think it's 77 cents, but who's counting?
Well, it's between 77 and 80.
Okay.
But that difference isn't really due to gender discrimination. When you look at what accounts for that difference, it's because in a 15-year time frame, women spend about twice as much time as men outside of the workforce because they interrupt their careers.
Right.
As a result of that, their skills depreciate in the value of the market.
Well, that'll make you unhappy. That fact alone could make you unhappy.
Absolutely it could.
So
although money doesn't necessarily buy you happiness.
Oh, how wrong you are. How about this? Women with more free time are less stressed. I can relate to that because when I was trapped at exit 60 on the Long Island Expressway during my first marriage, I had not much to do because I really didn't have a focus. I didn't know. I was so stressed out. If I don't have a little stress in my life, I'm stressed out.
If you don't have any stress, well, maybe that's because of who you are, though. You're the sort of person that likes to be able to have some sort of frisson, some kind of friction.
I love a frisson, especially with red
with paella.
wine.
Yes, exactly. But I think in terms of where we are now, there are some myths about where we are, but I think in terms of where we need to move to, it's almost like what you're saying here, to know what are the moments you've just said, I like a little stress in my life.
Right.
I could put 10 women up against the wall and go, and they hate stress in their life. Their whole goal is to remove stress.
Right.
So the place where
but
it
a little
begins,
stress is being a human being. You need a little stress in life.
I think it depends on the person.
Evolutionarily, the Neanderthals and the Cro-Magnons and everybody else had a little stress. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
Well, that's true, but what brings you stress will vary person by person
and how
by
you
person.
handle it, I think.
Yeah. So confrontation. You may be one of those people where the angrier you get, the more articulate you get, and your brain gets cold.
Not really, but
maybe. Well,
not really.
But there are some who love that kind of stress. Others who are stressed by being intimate with someone and close and actually feeling someone's pain. And so for all of us, it's a question, if we want to live a happy, successful, and fulfilled life, you've got to figure out which are the moments that invigorate you.
Okay, here's
Go
another
after
one.
them.
This one I love. Kids, this is a myth. Kids want more time with their working mothers. If that's not true, then all these women are off the hook.
Okay, so
go to work, leave them with the nanny.
So this is what the study showed. They asked 1,000 3rd to 12th graders, what do you want more from your mom? And then they asked the moms. The moms said, my kid will say more time. 56% of the moms said they want more time. That was only 10% of the kids who said that. The kids actually said, I want my mom to be less stressed and tired.
I say, okay. We're going to have more with you because I want to know what catch and cradle mean, this little phrase that's driving me crazy. More with author Marcus Buckingham next. Come back in a little while. A minute. Okay, we're back with guest Marcus Buckingham, author of Find Your Strongest Life. We're talking about how women can be happy without resorting to Prozac. Okay, now you have something in your book called a Strong Life Test.
Yes.
Which I took.
Yes.
And how does the catch and cradle fall into figure into that?
Well, most of the cliches about life for women is that they find balance, but
Yes.
actually when you talk to the happiest, most successful ones, they don't find balance. They find the moments in life that invigorate them, and then they cradle them. I mean, in a sense, you are what you pay attention to. So what they do is they pay more attention to those and then deliberately imbalance their life toward those moments that invigorate them.
So it's very selfish in a way, but I think that you would...
Well, it gives them strength, though,
Yeah.
and the strength to survive and support everybody that relies on them.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's self-focused in the sense that it gives you the strength to provide.
The other thing you said that I liked was that if you don't have to be a bad mother if you do what you want to do with the kid. If the kid wants to read science books and you're not interested in science books, then don't do that with the kid.
Yeah.
If you feel like going shopping with the child, go shopping with the child. Do what you want to do with the kid.
I
love that.
You tilt your life toward what invigorates you. Your kid doesn't want you to have purpose and goals per se. The kid wants to hang around you when you're happy.
And they don't want a miserable mother.
No, they don't.
Yeah. Okay, so I took this test, okay?
Strong life test.
Yeah, so I like this question. Your friend at work steals your idea and passes it off as her own. What do you do?
And what did you say?
Okay, I recognized her need and let her take some of the credit, but I've gotten much more mature in my older years.
Well, this test, it measures you on 9 life roles. And I think it gives you your top 2. Your top 2 were, I think, creator and teacher.
Yeah.
Creator is the person who goes, you know what, I don't need to bother with the fact that she stole my idea because I've got a ton of other ideas.
Yeah.
You're always looking for the patterns that underlie things. They can reconfigure those to create more. You're fine. And then
Right.
teacher is looking for, you're one of those people who sees little small increments of growth in someone else and then you get a kick from that, which is probably why people like you, because they sense that you're inquisitive, but not for the purpose of being smart necessarily, but for the purpose of helping somebody else grow and get better. People are drawn to someone like that.
But at a certain point in my life, I was either going to be a comedian or a shrink. And I picked comedian because it paid better. Okay. This was another question. Your neighbor told you she heard from her son that your teenage child is doing drugs.
Yeah.
What do you do? Okay, I picked confront my child immediately and get him help. If somebody tells me my child is doing drugs, that means that I have not been paying attention and I don't know about it. So I want him to come right
But you
Come
see,
right here.
that immediately tells me something about you, because there's a bunch of other things you could do. You could defend your child vigorously against the person that told you about him, but your first thought of all the different things you could do, you went to your child.
Yeah.
It's your first place
I
you
would
went.
ask him.
Start with the child
Yeah.
and figure out where they are at. Now that may seem like to you like the only reaction that's right, but
Yeah.
for you it's the only reaction that's right for you. So this test just gives you these choices and then helps you figure out which are the choices that are right for you, and therefore is like an internal compass. It helps you kind of know where you will draw strength from life.
Okay, so let's just recap.
Yeah.
Don't balance.
No.
Pick what you want and go for it.
And tilt your life toward that.
Find your little things in life, cradle them, catch them and cradle them.
Exactly.
And what else?
Don't juggle, catch and cradle. Juggling
Right.
is all about keeping everything at bay, isn't it? It's all about throwing things up in the air, keeping it at bay. So if you spend your whole life like that, you'll never hold on to anything long enough to feel it.
And
So
don't play
catch it.
football with your kid if you don't want to play football.
No.
Marcus, thanks very much.
Not at all.
Terrific. And thank you all for watching. Good night.